Welcome to the Epic Success Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Shannon Irvin. All right, let's talk about it. Productivity. We're a month into the new year. And depending on when you're listening to this, it might not be, but we're a month into the new year. And the buzz of new year, new me, driven, willpower, all of that stuff is starting to shift a little bit. Do you feel that energy? That's because willpower is a neurochemical. It's like a working out with a weight, like you can only hold it for so long. It has about a 30-day shelf life. And then you click into how your brain perceives what it is that you're wanting to do. So if you're trying to become more productive, to get more done, to get more results in your life, in your business, and you're handling or approaching productivity the way you always have, that might be exactly what is getting in your way. And today, I'm going to talk about 3 key secrets to brain-based productivity that can really unleash and unlock 2 to 3 more hours in your day, really helping you to tap into the power of your brain to become more productive in your life and in your business so that you get results. That's what we're going to be talking about today on the Epic Success Podcast. Let's go. All right. So productivity. This is typical pattern of high achievers. We set our goals, some of us in December, some of us in January, but regardless, we're setting our goals, especially 6, 7-figure business owners. We're actually sitting down with our teams. We're planning out our business goals. But my hope is you also planned your whole success matrix. It's something we do inside the 67-day year where you're really defining success on your terms and you're defining what does a successful year look like to me, not just what's a monetary result I want to get to. I'm going to put a pin in that and we can talk about that at a different time. But I want to talk today about productivity because what happens for most high achievers, most entrepreneurs, most high-level CEOs, executives, is that we do the goal setting, unfortunately, using old, broken, industrial age systems like Smarter Goals, which work against how your brain is going to allow you to get the results and is wired. It actually creates this tension of making your goals unsafe, and your brain starts to serve you neurochemicals to slow you down. That's a whole nother podcast. Let me know if that is of interest to hear, because there is a way to avert that broken system. But I digress back to productivity, because what happens is the newness of the year wears off. We started to work the plan. Willpower, which is a neurochemical, has gone. It fatigues. And now we're left with the habits, the disciplines, the motivation that we need to put into action to get the results. And what tends to happen for most people is the energy toward the goal tends to start to slow down. And so we start having these conversations. I just need to be more productive. I just need to be more productive so that I can get better results. And if that's you and you just try the willpower method, right? Let me just try harder to be more productive. Let me go use Pomodoro. Let me go use these other things. And we're not doing it from a brain-based perspective, then your brain continues in that, I call it the bully tug of war, with what you want versus what's safe. Because your brain's systems are all online to keep you safe and familiar, meaning right where you are right now, not ahead of the game, unless you really flip that success switch on, which is what we do in our world to help you really tap into the power that's available to you to utilize the systems in the brain to amplify your results. And that's why we call our program the 67-day year, because you can really accomplish a year's worth of goals in 67 days when you flip that success switch on. So let's talk about productivity. I wanted to talk about 3 key elements that are brain-based that you can start implementing today that will really help up-level your game in terms of getting 2 to 3 hours back. Why this is so important, if you really start to think about it, when all is said and done, when we're saying, I want to get to 6, 7, 8 figures, when I want X amount of clients, X amount of results, 10X, 100X, whatever it is, when we see ourselves getting there, I always joke around with my clients and I say, okay, whatever your number is, right? Maybe for me, it's multi-8, maybe it's 7, maybe it's 6, whatever. But if you're seeing me on video, if I could just tap the screen and give you $1 million or $1 billion in your bank account immediately, and there's no work that you have to do, you've arrived at the number you've been shooting for. Would you take it? And resoundingly, all my clients say, absolutely. And I said, wait, there's a caveat. There's a caveat here. When I do that, you can no longer share it with anybody. You'll only have 24 hours to be in that scenario, and then you won't be on the planet anymore. You can't share it with your spouse, with your kids, no vacations, none of the things that the money in your account is really why you're doing it, right? At the end of the day, time is the currency in which we are trying to exchange our expertise for revenue. And then the revenue in our mind, the revenue creates space and time. We as entrepreneurs call that freedom. Freedom. But what it is time. It's being able to tell time where to go. It's being able to to spend time with those that matter most, right? So this idea of productivity really, really matters because we want to get more results in a shorter amount of time, which is the biggest currency we really deal with. And I'm just thinking about right now, I'm getting a little choked up because my father-in-law just went to be with Jesus yesterday. Giant of a man. Just like another father to me. And, his wife is like a very, very close friend and like a mother figure to me. And it just brings to point, like our days are our days, right? And we want to squeeze the juice out of every single one of them. We don't want to be working for a year when we can be doing it in a quarter of the time. So I digress. Like we just really want, when we think about productivity, I want you to think about getting your time to spend wherever you want it to be, to make every juicy moment matter. Because isn't that what we're really put on the planet to do, right? To love each other, to love God, and to continue to grow and be the best version of wherever we're planted. So what are the 3 things that we can do right now to hack this brain-based system to get it to start to work for us so we can get some of our time back? Number 1, this is the first one, it's putting first things first, meaning it's taking inventory of what matters most to you and making sure that what you're working toward is really your definition of success. And I know this seems like that's not a thing I can put into practice every day. No, you can sit down and think, look at your goals, look at what you set out to do. And of course, I'm going to encourage you to get into 67-day year where we help you break it down in a way that your brain actually starts working for you. It speeds up time. But the key question I want you to ask yourself is, what's the end result that I'm trying to create this 6, 7, 8 figure business for? Like, am I really wanting to work more? Or am I really wanting to be able to spend time with my family? What is it? What is your definition of success? Because the reality is, in the entrepreneur world, we use this cultural language of 6, 7, 8 figures, right? But it's so different for each of us what that really means. And at the end of the day, your brain starts to work for you so much faster when what you're doing daily aligns with what you really want. So the big question for number 1 is just to ask yourself, what do you really want? Like, why is it that you want what you put on your goals in January? Like, what are you doing it all for? What does the done picture of success look like? And have you thought about that? Because if you haven't thought about that done picture of success, like what does getting to 8 figures make possible in your life? And what are you going to be doing with that? Then your brain just doesn't see the point in doing it all, right? Because you're not giving a picture to your brain, and we call this brain priming, but you're not giving a picture to your brain to feel safe. And so if your brain doesn't have this picture to train itself to feel safe, then everything you're going for is a threat and works against you. Neurochemicals get served to give you procrastination, perfectionism, all of the things that slow you down. So that's why number one is kind of a big one, but put first things first. What does a done success look like for you? Okay, I'm going to speed it up here. Number two, do your big three. And what is a big three? I can't go on a whole training on this, but here's like the crypt notes for this. I want you to look at all the things that you need to do. And I want you to pick the 3 most important things that take 30 minutes or less and put it on your daily plan. Get those big 3 knocked out before you check your email, before you look at social media, before you answer your phone, before you take on anyone else's priorities. Now, listen, parents, I know you got to take kids to school, do all that. I understand that. But what we end up doing, typically speaking, is we look at email, we look at social media, we do everybody else's to-do list. We get all things done so that we can sit down and do our thing. And we basically give our dream, our vision, the thing we're put on the planet to do, leftovers. No wonder we can't get it done. No wonder it takes a lot of time. So this power of the big 3, doing 3 30-minute tasks that move your vision, your God-given vision forward, is a super powerful tool. Now, how to know what 3 and all that we break down inside 67-day year, but like just start by those big 3. So number 1, put first things first. Number 2, pick your big 3 and work it before you do anything else, before emails, before social, anything like that. And number 3, I want you to start thinking micro. So what Smarter Goals tell us to do is like to create this big plan, right? And then make sure it's achievable, yes, but still it's this big, big, big thing. So what I want you to do, your brain loves the micro. Your brain loves what it can naturally believe. So I want you to start thinking about what it is you want to accomplish and break it down into smaller bits so that you can know what I call it what domino you need to go after first. Because a lot of times if we say, I'm going to go to 6 figures, and then we jot down 100 things we need to do, if I could be a voice for your brain just does a freak out. It's just like, I can't possibly do all that. All of these limiting subconscious patterns kick in. That's for another podcast, and literally chain you back and make you feel like you need to procrastinate, make you feel like you need to make it perfect, make you feel like imposter syndrome. But those aren't really real emotions. Those are neurochemicals causing you to slow down so that you don't actually put your brain in a threat situation. So we want to start taking the big thing and chunking it down into micro domino boulders, we call in our world, that then we can look at that boulder and say, okay, what are the big 3 things that I need to do each day? And then that starts to give your brain safety. And when you give your brain safety, this reticular activating system kicks in and starts giving glucose, giving energy toward that safe vision. And ultimately, that is what allows you to collapse time. That's what allows you to get more done in a shorter amount of time because you're no longer working in a way that works against how your brain is wired. All right, so brain-based productivity, go micro, big 3, and make sure your first things are first. What is the success that you're wanting? What does it look like done? And make sure that the path you're on is actually your path, the thing that's going to light you up when you get there, because nothing is worse than getting to the top of a success ladder and realizing you just wasted some time on somebody else's vision and somebody else's dream. So this is some of the ways to get 2 to 3 hours back in your day. I really want to encourage you. You know this naturally. Like if you want to be healthy in your body and you want to be fit, you go to the gym, right? Or in your house, either way, you work out, you walk, you lift some weights, you do push-ups. You know that you need to do that in order to stay healthy. Yes. And we know if we don't do those things, we will be what? Unhealthy. Yet your brain is wired very similarly, and we still just put it up to chance that things will happen, that we'll get results. That is the most dangerous Russian roulette you could ever play with your vision. Your brain is the tool that can make you more money. Your brain is the tool that decides what you do with the time. Your brain is what allows you to create the businesses. So training your brain to transform results is your priority this year. So that's my challenge to you. Reach out to us. We'd be glad to help you. We'll put the link down to the program down below. But my challenge to you is get those 2 to 3 hours back in the day and spend them on what matters most. All right. That's what I have for you this week on the Epic Success Podcast. Bye for now.